I just celebrated my 2-year anniversary of being a YouTuber. Man, does time pass by really quickly when you're doing something that you enjoy. But it reminded me that one of my earliest videos, in fact, going back to April of 2023, I thought that I would have kind of a fun experience for people to watch, and I sent some junk silver off to a refinery, and then I actually used the proceeds that I received in one of my first giveaways. That was the 500 subscriber giveaway. Some of you folks have been with me that long, and I appreciate you doing that. This is going to be another journey in the recycling of precious metals. And I can't wait to share this one with you too, because it's got an interesting ending. If you are new to the channel, my name is Dubsy. I want to thank you for being with me here today. If you're one of my returning subscribers, thanks guys as always for being with me. This is going to be kind of cool. I love this kind of conversion play. Let me know what you think about it. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, love to have you click on that subscription button, hit the notification button, be part of this community. We have a lot of fun. And it means a lot. It doesn't cost anything to join a channel, to subscribe to a channel. It's just a way of showing support. So back when I sent that original batch in, and I'll put a link down below so you can watch that kind of cringy video. I'm getting my sea legs, and maybe I'm a little bit better than I was about 2 years ago. Silver had been on a bit of a tear, and I, like a lot of people in this hobby, had a Ziploc bag sitting in my desk of garbage, pieces that I knew were silver, or that I strongly suspected were silver, that was just taking up room. And I thought, this is a great opportunity. Silver had gone all the way up to about $24 an ounce. And I thought, it's time to send this stuff off. A lot of these pieces I've been buying in groups. When I see something that I really want, if I have to sweeten the deal a little bit with a dealer or with a reseller of some kind, so that I can get that piece that I want, I'm often left with things that I don't really want, and that includes bits and pieces, shavings, findings, the clasps of necklaces and bracelets, broken pieces, pieces that are missing stones. For whatever reason, you are often left with a little bit of a junk bag. I do collect Mexican silver jewelry and Native American, Indigenous American silver jewelry, and I just shot a video about the Mexican pieces. I'll put a link down below if you're interested in looking at that collection. So I often am left with just kind of bits and pieces, odds and ends, and over the last several years I had collected this into a bag. It was time to send it off. Now, probably about 15 years ago, I'd been in kind of the same situation, and I sent this group off to a regional smelter, a refinery called Midwest Refineries. And I'd had pretty good results with them. So that's who I sent this first batch off back in April of 2023. At the time, and I'll just go over the figures really quickly, I weighed this baggie to be about 10.26 troy ounces. I wanted to make sure that I was at least 10 troy ounces when I sent it off. Silver was about $24, actually spiked a little bit in transit while it was on the way to Midwest Refineries. So when they get it, when a refinery gets these pieces, and in the situation that I did back in April of 2023, there were some silverware that had some enameling on it. There was some broken jewelry that still had some faux stones, some fake diamonds or emeralds or whatever it was in it. I was fairly certain they weren't real. And just odds and ends and bits and pieces like that. So when your refinery receives a package like this, they're going to estimate, or in the case of Midwest, I believe they actually refine the silver first and let me know how much of that was stuff that they couldn't pay me for. You can't expect them to pay you for the broken gemstones and stuff like that. They're a precious metal smelter. So they actually take the entire allotment. They take out the pieces they can't pay you for it. In this case, it probably included bits and pieces of nickel. There were probably fillers in it, just kind of junky stuff. I wasn't too terribly careful when I sent this stuff up. That's kind of on me. So after they did their initial weight, it went from 10.26 troy ounces to what they estimated 9.19 troy ounces. So it lost somewhere about a troy ounce. I think that's fine. That makes sense given the nature of the materials that I'd sent to them. So they pay you, when it's sterling silver that you're sending to this refinery, they pay you 90% of the value of that sterling silver. So in this case, they paid me $204.70. That was a nice little check to get. And if you have been a subscriber to the channel long enough, you know that I actually used that money to buy the pieces that I gave away from my 500 subscriber giveaway. I thought that was a lot of fun. So again, there'll be a link to that video if you want to watch it down below. A link to the Mexican silver jewelry video down below. I think that's a really good one too. So I had an opportunity. Why am I droning on and on about this stuff that happened 2 years ago? I walked into a local shop about 2 weeks ago as I'm filming. And that dealer knows that I like interesting stuff. And they had what amounted to a collection of pieces that were all related to each other. And in the past, I would have been all about buying that entire collection all at once. And if I needed to, parsing off some of that collection, selling a little bit of that collection, and by doing so, hopefully getting enough of a profit from selling those pieces that I could essentially pay for my share of that collection, the pieces that I'm keeping. And it doesn't cost you anything, or maybe it subsidizes it a little bit. And that's what I planned on doing. I actually shared that with the dealer from whom I bought this collection. They weren't sure what it was. I wasn't really sure what it was, but the more research I did on it, the more I realized that this seems to be something that's pretty exceptional, and I wanted to keep this collection together. And I'm not just teasing you. I will be having a video about this at some time in the very near future. So I had originally planned on selling it. Then I decided that I was going to keep the entire collection together. What could I do to raise some money? This was a pretty significant lift. This was a pretty expensive group of things to buy. And I'm fine when it comes to buying expensive things, but this really hit me out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it. I had actually been earmarking money for another precious metal. If you watch my channel, you know what I'm talking about. It wasn't this that I was after, but sometimes when Tom's Law hits, and if you've seen the channel before, I'm a big proponent of the idea of Tom's Law. The longer you have been doing this, if you see something you've never seen before, it can be that length of time before you ever see it again. This was definitely a case of Tom's Law. I had never seen these things before, and I thought they were fascinating. So I decided to keep the group together. How do I pay for all of it? How do I at least pay for some of it to offset the cost of this? And it hit me, it was maybe time to revisit Midwest. Because in the time that had passed since I released that original video way back in April of 2023, I had been buying bits and pieces of stuff, finding more and more garbage, more and more junk, more pieces that I didn't want that came with a group or a lot that I had to purchase, some things that I picked up accidentally almost, some pieces that I picked up thinking it was something that it wasn't, and it happens to me all the time. So this bag had been continuously growing over the last 24 months, and it had gotten to be pretty big again. I couldn't believe it. I actually hit this point, and when I weighed it before shipping this stuff up, once again, it was 12.9 troy ounces. So we're past that 10-ounce threshold. There is no threshold that you have to use when you're sending to a refinery. In most cases, you might want to check with a local refinery if you're going to use somebody else. And I'll definitely give you the information about Midwest refineries down below. So if you decide that you want to use them as your refiner of choice, you can contact them directly. So 12.9 ounces, and this time, and I'll show you a picture of what it is that I'm looking at, what I was looking at here. It's just another Ziploc bag of broken junk, right? This is stuff that I don't really want. It's not stuff that I collect. It's literally taking up space, and boy, did I feel the need to capture at least a little bit of money to put towards this new purchase. Any excuse, right? Any rationalization that I come up with to save these pieces, I was going to try to do. And this time I'd also forgotten that tucked away in the same desk drawer that had been sitting there since before I shipped off that last group of pieces to Midwest was some broken gold also. So this was, and I'll show you a picture of what you're looking at here. This is just a 2x2 flip that I had these pieces shoved into. This was a ring that I thought said 10 karat. I'd literally found this on the ground on the sidewalk. It weighed so little, right? It's almost like a little kid's ring. There was also a single one stud earring, and if you look at the post of the earring, you can see that it said 585 when I see these pieces. And I really do. I find these pieces all the time on the ground. When I find these pieces, I like to look for a purity mark or a maker's mark. This goes back to the days when I used to metal detect, and I kind of thought of a piece counting if it was marked sterling or 925. You know that it's a lot easier to find silver than it is to find gold with a metal detector. So if it was marked, it was a trophy. I kept it. If it wasn't marked, I was bummed out. It didn't count somehow in my mind, and that's what I use when I find something like this on the ground. I pick it up, find a maker's mark on it, 585. 585 is what 14 karat gold is. So I put this into the little pouch also. And then about a year and a half ago, getting out of the car and walking into the post office, I spied something that looked like a little piece of gold foil lying on the ground. And again, I have no shame when it comes to this kind of stuff. In the middle of a crowd, I will bend down and pick up something like this. That's just the way I am. You're probably that way too, aren't you? And this, after I realized that it was significantly more heavy than it should have been, I realized that it was like a crown pendant, right? Some kind of a charm. And it had been crushed by a car tire, stepped on, or whatever it was. So it was kind of mangled and flat. And it really, really looked like 14 karat. And it was heavy enough that I thought it probably was. Ultimately, I could not find a maker's mark anywhere on it. And ordinarily, I wouldn't have kept it as a trophy if it didn't actually have a marking on it. In this case, I was so sure that this was probably at least 10 karat gold, maybe even 14 karat gold, I decided to keep it anyway. Now, I do have a gold and silver acid drop test, and I do use it occasionally. In my experience, it doesn't seem to be quite as precise as I want it to be, and I knew that it's not like I was going to resell these pieces. They were garbage. There's no real reason to test them. And I made a mental note to send these pieces off to Midwest next time I sent off a batch, and that's exactly what I did. So in addition to that little baggie of silver that I had accumulated, I also sent off this little pouch of what I was hoping would come out to be some kind of karat gold. So I didn't bother to weigh the gold stuff. It didn't weigh very much. We're probably talking about 2, maybe 3 grams, and it just didn't seem worthwhile. In fact, since I wasn't sure that these were gold anyway, I put a note in with these pieces before I shipped them off to Midwest, and I just said, when you get these pieces, do the best that you can. Gary is my contact at Midwest. I just said, I trust you. If these are good gold, great. So I sent this package off, and in this case, I sent this off in a USPS, United States Postal Service, priority prepaid box. This was the small box that has unlimited weight. And I didn't insure it for any more than, I believe, the $50 or $100 that it comes with. So it's about a $10 expense to ship this off. And fortunately, I'm located in the Midwest, and Midwest Refineries, believe it or not, is located in the Midwest. They're right outside of Detroit. So I shipped this box off to them with a baggie full of broken silver and a little tiny flip full of what I was hoping was gold. And that's where the story really stops. It was you always have to anticipate that it's going to take quite a while for USPS to get where it's going, for these guys to have lots of envelopes and packages coming in from all over across America, to log it into their system, to actually do the assay, and then eventually pay you. In this case, I sent this off on February 28th. That was a Friday. And on March 5th, rather, I believe that was a Wednesday, I received in the mail the check from Midwest. So this was literally from a Friday afternoon until a Wednesday morning when I picked up my check. I think that's pretty phenomenal. So these are the results. This is the assay that came along with it. You can see it's got little Midwest information on it here, and hopefully I've blocked out all the pertinent things. I know you deviants are going to try to find my information anyway, but what you're looking at here is what we sent off to them, and what they said is that the description of material is sterling silver with some magnetic plated chains and rings. That was a really bad rookie mistake that I made. I have all sorts of magnets sitting in the same drawer that I had this baggie of broken, mangled silver sitting in. And it never once occurred to me that I could probably go over some of this questionable stuff that I definitely didn't want, just to see if it was plated steel. And even though it was marked sterling, everything that I sent off to him I think was pretty clearly marked. It doesn't surprise me in the least that some of that stuff was just silver-plated junk. So I could have saved myself a little bit of time if I hit it with a magnet first. I absolutely entrust them implicitly. I believe that he was being sincere when he says that some of it had a little bit of steel in it. That's fine. So of the 12.9 troy ounces that I weighed, he said that it was 11.5 troy ounces. That's about an ounce, a little bit more than an ounce of loss. I believe that. That's probably accurate. And then they did an assay of it, right? And the yield was that it was 90.014% pure. Most of this stuff was marked sterling, but a lot of this stuff had questionable origins, just like some of the stuff it makes perfect sense that it was silver plated. So the fact that it was supposed to be 92.5 and in their assay it came out at 90.014% pure, I'm fine with that. That's absolutely fine. So you can see the assay yield and the total ounces that it contained, 9.956 of pure silver. they pay you 90% of the value of the pure silver, which is that many ounces of pure silver, and then at $31.10 per troy ounce. It's kind of fun because in that original video that I did back in April of 2023, silver was $24.70. So you can see silver has definitely gone up. So the check from them in the silver value, $278.66. That's awesome. That is easily within the realm of what I was expecting. Now, the gold, I wasn't quite sure what we were looking at in the first place. They have it at 0.066 of a troy ounce. That's about 2 grams of gold. And then they actually said that it contained about half of that in terms of pure gold. What does that mean? Well, we knew that some of the pieces that I sent off were only 10 karat, and 10 karat is 41.7% pure gold. And one of the pieces, that was the earring stud that I sent off, that was 585, at least that's the way it was marked. That's 14 karat, and that's 58.3% pure. And then again, kind of a rookie mistake, I didn't bother to pop the stone out of that stud earring. Now, there's a decent chance that that stone was actually a real diamond, and I do have a diamond tester, but it was such a small stone, it would have broken it if I'd tried to get it out anyway, probably, and it would have mangled the stud, so I just sent it, and, that's not really Midwest's job to break out those pieces also. I feel a little bit bad about that. But the long and the short, and it does look like the charm that I sent, the mangled crown charm that had been stepped on, was probably real gold too. So they're saying it assayed at about 50% pure. When you're combining 14 karat with 10 karat, 58.3% pure and 41.7% pure, makes perfect sense, right? That is exactly what it should be. And for gold, they're paying 95% of the value. So the value of the gold at $2,860 per troy ounce, $87 for this little silly 2x2 flip that I had put literally pieces of garbage that I had found in the street on. I had never paid for any of this stuff. $87, it's not bad. So there we have the combined amount, and this is the check. You can see that he made it out to Dub C, and the amount, $365.66. Awesome. That is so cool. That is easily within what I was expecting. You always hope that if you've got 12.9 ounces that that any refiner you use is going to find out that that's all good silver and they're going to pay you 90% of that. That's not the way the real world works. So if you are in a position where you want to send some stuff off to a refinery, be it Midwest or anybody else, just understand that it's very likely that the pieces that you think are sterling silver are really going to be closer to 90%. And it's just kind of the real world situation. You can't expect these people to pay for something that's not there. So as long as you've got realistic expectations and you trust them to send you pretty close to what it is that you're expecting, I found this experience to be really good. This is the third time that I've dealt with Midwest. In fact, it might have actually been the fourth. It seems like I might have sent something off to them a long, long time ago too. So in those separate instances where I've used Midwest refineries, they receive the product really, really quickly. They are ridiculously fast with their turnaround time, and that check was cashed the same day that I received it. That money's already in the bank, and I was able to apply the entire amount towards at least part of that group of pieces that I was so excited to find recently. What do you think? What are your thoughts about this? Is it time for you to dig through your stuff? In this case, I took the opportunity to weed out some of those pieces that I had kind of been sitting on the fence about. Should I keep this? Do I really want this? In fact, some of those pieces had been sitting around since the last time that I used Midwest, and it just never really clicked with what I was trying to do. Off it went. You have to be a little bit mercenary about this kind of stuff, and sometimes it's okay just to ship this stuff away, get rid of it. But they were so fast with their turnaround times, and the amount that they paid is so close to what I was expecting. Again, you have to have those realistic, real-world expectations that I will definitely use them again. No, I'm not being paid by them. In fact, I never announce who it is who's sending this stuff is, and they probably don't remember me anyway. But I've been really pleased with this. Now, I have heard some folks who have used Midwest and also other refineries who are disappointed with the results that they get. Is it possible that these folks are overweighing what they have? Is it possible that they're using avoirdupois instead of troy ounces or vice versa? Is it possible that what they think is good silver is just silver plated? I don't know. You have to have a little bit of a leap of faith, and you have to kind of trust that these people know what they're doing. In this case, I do believe that's the case. Is it time for you to send some stuff off? I would love for you to comment down below. If you have used Midwest or anybody else, I would also like to hear those comments down below. The speed with which Midwest is able to get that check back into my hands is blazing fast. That was really cool. So I think overall, this is another fantastic experience, and I will definitely continue to use them in the future. If you have any questions about the stuff that we talked about here today, why is there a roll of ounces at the top? Just to be cool, just because I thought they were pretty. Everybody who watches my channel knows that I love Mexican ounces, so I had to have something in the shot, right? No, I'm not going to send those off to Midwest. If you have questions about anything else that we talked about here, by all means, leave that question down below. As you know, I like to say if you've got a question about something, there's a good chance that somebody else has a question. Let's see if we can answer it for everybody. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, I'd like to ask you to go ahead and click on the subscription button once again. Hit the notification button. I try to premiere new videos every single Friday evening. And then often we go live after those premieres. So hopefully you are watching this video with me on a Friday evening, and I try to be there during the premiere of the video to answer questions in the chat as it's scrolling past as we're watching this brand new video unfold. And then afterwards, if we do go live, that's a fun way to have a chat with other people in the community, to kind of check in with everybody else, to ask me questions. Generally, the floor is wide open, and I'll answer pretty much anything with as much candor as I can, as long as it deals with coins and precious metals. So if you have an opportunity, join us on a Friday evening, subscribe to the channel, that would be great. If you've got suggestions for other videos or even video series you'd like to see me make, by all means leave that comment down below, and if I can make a video for you based on that suggestion or even a question, I do have a new series of subscriber question and answer videos. If you leave an interesting question and I think it's worthy of doing an entire video about, I'll give you a great big shout out. You can have your own video made for you. How cool would that be? Always be learning. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey as we go deeper into the world of coins and physical precious metals.